I'm afraid of heights.
That airplane needs some help. Y'all know that, right?
Yeah.
I have a confession to make. I really like the Cars films. I'm sure a lot of you do. The first Cars, classic. Cars 2, when I was a kid I really liked it, not so much now. Cars 3 passed me by at the time, but after a rewatch I do quite enjoy it. But Planes is a film that I did not watch when it came out. I was 13 when this launched, and for some reason this flew right by me. Pun intended. And I decided to watch the film in research for the games, and my god. Unfortunately, I feel like the only way I could have enjoyed this film was if I was 15 or so years younger. That's absolutely fine. This is just a film and game definitely aimed at younger children. Maybe I'm just miserable when it comes to these things, or maybe the film was just... That's up to you, really. So, welcome to Planes the video game. Developed by Behaviour Interactive and published by Disney Interactive Studios, this game was released on Wii, Wii U, the DS, the 3DS, and also on PC, which is the platform I'm playing this on today. This game and the first Planes movie were both released in early August 2013. As was a trend at the time, this game does not actually follow the plot of the film, but follows the film afterwards. The story mode is told from the perspective of Skipper, who is telling Echo and Bravo about various different escapades of the characters from the film. It's a cool enough idea. I must admit, whilst I was playing, I kind of thought, well, how the f would Skipper know about half of this, because he's not going to be there for all of it, surely, but that's just a silly little gripe from me. If you want to get a true feel for the Planes video game, just watch this 30-second trailer that Disney released before it came out.
Engine full throttle. Nod to the shooter when you're set. You are cleared for takeoff.
From above the world of cars, prepare to soar with Planes. Join Dusty Crophopper and many exciting Planes characters from the film through heroic high-flying adventures and instant two-player action. Disney Planes, the video game. Only on Nintendo consoles. Rated E for everyone.
Only on Nintendo consoles. And also PC. Oh my, do you remember how hard they kept trying to make the Wii U happen? If you've watched this far into the video already, please let me know if you owned a Wii U or not, and if you did, if you actually used it. Because I did own a Wii U, and I must admit, I did play quite a few games on it. Planes was obviously not one of them though, just for the record. Okay, so I played through the tutorial and then the entire story mode from beginning to end, even featuring a little bit of the split screen they advertised about halfway through. So, the tutorial has you flying around as Dusty with Skipper narrating how hard or easy it was to train you, and then you get taught all the basic controls and the mechanics that you will be using in the story mode and other missions. So, once you complete this, you can now play through the missions of Dusty, El Chupacabra, Ishani, and Bulldog. Now, what do these missions actually entail, I hear you ask? Once you've played through Dusty's set of missions, to be honest with you, you've basically played the entire game. All of the other characters' missions, give or take maybe a couple, are essentially just reskins or slightly different variants of what you've already done when playing as Dusty at the start. Which, as a game aimed at kids, is completely fine because it keeps things simple and easy to follow. For someone in his 20s, this game was not particularly stimulating, so I must admit I did have to keep taking breaks whilst playing because I got so bored. Anyway, in Dusty's first mission, you're flying around, smashing through debris by flying through it very fast, then you have to spray some crops, and then you have to paint some barns. All of these are done with different pickups that you can get when the mission requires you to do so, and then, depending on what you're using, it will either do it for you automatically when you fly over it, or, for example, with the paint gun, you just press A when you have aimed at what you want to paint or fire at. So, after saving his hometown in Dusty's first mission, you are now sent off to the Himalayas, where they have reported there's been a lot of snow. Wow, who could have seen that one coming?
Wow, what a twist.
Not really.
And it's your job to go and smash through the snow piles, do some other things, and then a new mechanic comes into play that we picked up in the tutorial, searching for items with a radar. I say radar, it's more like a very simplistic guide, to be honest. On your wings are 2 green lights. They will flicker more and more depending on which way you need to go. So your left wing might flicker lots, and then you have to turn left and head that way, or vice versa with the right. If they both start blinking, they keep heading in the direction you're already going. These blinkers do not account for going up or down, but that's absolutely fine because most times you can pretty much see what it is you're heading towards anyway, so it doesn't really matter. And yes, a lot of the time you'll be using these blinkers to locate pities. And by pities, yes, I do mean... Okay, so after this, Dusty is off to Dubai to face off against Chick Hicks. Sorry, no, Ripslinger, but it's literally just Chick Hicks if he was a plane. That's the entire character, he's just a cocky... And, just like Chick Hicks, he'll play dirty to win. Yeah, you know what? Planes is very similar to the first Cars film, I'm not gonna lie. Anyway, this introduces us to the racing mechanic, and it's just a standard plane race with very simple controls. Nothing wrong with it, does the job, you win, you move on. Anyway, so like I already said, once you've done these missions, you've basically played the entire game. So I then went on to play as Ishani, Bulldog, and El Chupacabra, and their missions are basically just the same thing. Across all characters, there are missions that have a bit more free roam, so they'll have multiple objectives like you've seen already, like harvesting crops, painting barns, rescuing pities, so on and so forth. On those kinds of missions, you do have a bit of free roam. There are points and additional boosts that you can gather. There is also a medal system at the end of each level, going from bronze, silver, gold, up to platinum. Now, just by finishing the level, no matter what points you get or where you come, you will get bronze. Then if you finish under a certain time, it will vary on which medal you get. Or if it's one of the objective-based levels, it'll be based on how high your score is. I think the medal system is very good. I mean, it's quite standard really, but it's good for all players because you have kids that aren't particularly good at games or are new to games. They'll still get a medal just by simply finishing a level. They don't have to do anything special, they just have to do the bare minimum. And for those of you who are completionists, the platinum medals are not difficult to get. They're a little bit more time consuming on objective-based levels if you're trying to get through it quickly, just because you have to gather a higher score, but it's really not hard. Okay, so after playing as those 4 characters, you then unlock Skipper, and it was at this point I decided it was time to try out the split screen mode. My girlfriend came round expecting a lovely romantic evening, and what she got was Disney's planes. So, whoops. Anyway, split screen works fine, there's nothing inherently wrong with it. When you play in split screen, the game just gets a bit darker for some reason, like a lot of the colours just disappear. It's still, like, you can still see the colours, don't get me wrong, but it just gets darker, more shaded, it's a bit weird. But other than that, it doesn't lag or anything, it works fine, optimised pretty well. Just for some reason the shading goes all funny when you go in split screen. I'm not sure if that's just on PC, or if that's across the Wii and Wii U as well, but there we go. Anyway, Skipper's missions were pretty samey, but there was a couple of cool things, like him training new cadets in a race, and you have to fly into this weird freak weather storm where there's these massive water spouts. It was still kind of similar to stuff we'd already done, but it was slightly different, so that was cool. So, after completing Skipper's missions, you next unlock Echo, one of the fighter jets that Skipper has been narrating this story to. His missions are pretty cool, don't get me wrong, it's still fairly samey, but still slightly different. There's 2 missions where you have to guide the Fleisenhauer out of extreme conditions like ice and then a volcano, and then there's a couple of missions setting up races for the flight around the world. Again, it's not so samey to be repetitive, but it's similar enough so that younger players can still very easily keep a grasp on what's going on and play through the game. If you couldn't tell in this video, I'm trying to be a bit more open-minded to the fact that these games are in fact aimed at kids, because I've done nothing but grill cars for like 2 months. Anyway, so after you do all this, you unlock the final character's missions to play as in the game. Ripslinger.
Why are they wasting their time with him? He's a tractor with wings.
Or as we like to call him, Chick Hicks with wings. His missions basically just consist of f***ing stuff up for the other characters, more specifically Dusty. In fact, several times he paints himself in Dusty's colours and frames him for, like, different crimes. He bursts the rings for the races, he vandalizes stuff, he actually pretty much destroys Dusty's hometown, which is what you actually clear up in Dusty's first mission. You know, he just does generally evil things that an evil character would do. But at the end of the day, even with the evil twist on it, all you're doing is still following the objective. You're still going through the rings even if you're just destroying them. You're still basically following a point-to-point, spray this, destroy this, fly through that, so on and so forth. There is absolutely nothing inherently wrong with that, just for an older player like myself, it's just very one-note and quite boring. But at the end of the day, if I want a game with planes that's exciting, there's plenty of other options out there for people a bit older, like War Thunder, or if I want something a bit more realistic, like Microsoft Flight Simulator. Anyway, so that takes us through the main story of Planes the video game. There's also a balloon popping mode, and some races, and just some standard arcadey stuff that you can play single player or split screen. Overall, I had a pretty good time with this game. It's not bad. Is it very simple? Yes. Is it very repetitive? Yes. But it does what it says on the tin. It's a game about a film that Disney made. The film is average at best, and frankly the game is average at best, but I still had fun with it. Now, critically, this game did not do well at all. This game has a 51 out of 100 Metacritic score for the Wii U. All the other platforms don't actually even have a score, but the user score is 5.4 out of 10, which is just really not good. Most of the reviews are just calling it the same things I already have: uninspired, repetitive, boring, etc, etc. You've heard it all by now. However, that said, on Steam, the game is actually currently marked as very positive in terms of reviews, with 83% of its reviews as positive. Now, I read through some of these reviews, and like 99% of them are just parents saying, oh, my kids enjoyed this game, it's something simple for them. So, make of that what you will. One thing I did forget to mention about whilst we were talking about the levels and everything was the graphics, which are fine. It's a Wii U port on PC. There's not really much to say about it, to be honest with you. The Wii U wasn't known for its graphical fidelity, so I'm not particularly surprised it's not the best looking game, but for the time, it's pretty nice. Colours, pretty nice. I'm a simple man, what can I say? Well, that's pretty much all I have time for today, so thank you very much for sticking with me talking about this very average game based on an even more average film. If you owned this game or enjoyed it when it came out, please let me know down below. If you're a fan of the movie, please let me know, I'd like to know why. But as always, thank you very much for watching. Please don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and tap the bell for notifications for future uploads. And as always, I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.
It's like Rocky.
It's more like David and Goliath.
Old Yeller.
That's not an underdog
Oh,
story.
there's a dog in it.
Enough!
Yeah, enough.
You know they shot old Yeller at the end, you twits.
Aw, spoiler alert.